because more narcotics were being seized down here. And the chief asked me, could we keep the kennel in case we got another dog? And I said, yes, but it was the property of the city. Now, hopefully that cleared that up. But yes, I had the authority to turn everything over to the sheriff's department. Because once again, and I've told y'all before, I don't do stuff without checking with legal counsel first. It's just like this letter didn't come out of the thin air. I checked with legal counsel before this letter was written. It was proved by him and sent. But if you don't mind, go ahead and conclude. I wanted to answer a couple of those things. Go ahead.
Okay, well, it's just like the drug fund money.
Do what now?
The drug fund money, the
Yes.
$11,000 that the city was supposed to receive.
Yes.
You told me while we were having our conversation that you made arrangements with the sheriff for him to keep the money because.
No. Here's what I told you. The money that was seized, there were some statements made to Lieutenant Powers, excuse me, and some other people also heard statements made about money would be coming back to the city of Grand Junction. Now, no one ever told me that a check was going to be written for $11,000.
The sheriff promised $11,000. He promised half the money.
Okay, all right.
There's in the newspaper.
But the amount we're talking about, the amount of money and everything, I didn't know if we were going to get a check for that or what. This kept coming up, and Lieutenant Powers asked me a couple of times. So in a meeting on some other things, I asked the sheriff, I said, what about the money that was seized on the drug bust? When are we going to get our portion of it? And he said, your portion is being utilized now. And I said, so it's not going to be a check just given to us for the drug fund. He said, I don't foresee that taking place. But that money is in a drug fund, and it is being utilized by the Hardin County Sheriff's Department, and it is being utilized in your city. I had no reason to deny it. I mean, you know, not to believe him. But no, I've never been offered a check for X amount of dollars. No.
Well, you brought up the money for the police car that we just purchased.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Lieutenant Powers and I discussed having a backup unit. And a little bit embarrassing because he had me purchase a stolen car.
I didn't have you.
But I hear you. But you recommended that we needed a backup unit, right? And you also called me and told me, okay, that you had been contacted, that several of the law enforcement agencies, Bolivar and some of the others, knew that there was a police car that appeared to be a Crown Vic. It appeared to be in pretty good shape. So I went and I looked at the car. The car appeared pretty good. It was actually in the Christmas parade down here. I'm not saying I was real crazy about the paint job on it, but for the amount of money that we purchased the car for, it seemed to be reasonable. And here's what happened. I negotiated from $6,000 to $5,000. The day that I actually picked up the car, the young man, Mr. Blackard, gave me the title to the car. And I looked at the title, and on the back of it, and on the front of it is Collierville Police Department. I asked him, where'd you get this car? And he said, a young man traded it in to me for a truck. And I said, okay. I said, well, what's the least you're going to take for it? We negotiated $5,000. I went ahead, I carried it before the board. The board approved it, money out of that. So I actually carried the title to Jerry Armstrong's office, told him what we just purchased, signed the paperwork. He gave me a tag for the car. I carried it back down to Mr. Blackard's body shop. He put the tag on the car, and I called Justin, and we got the car. No, they brought the car down here, dropped it off for us. Within a week, we had a title to the car. Everything's fine. Justin, I think, drove it one day, and we started looking at what we needed to do to retrofit the car because everything else had been put back in it except for the blue light. Justin called me up and he said, "Hey, Curtis, we got a problem." "What's that?" He said, "I think you said we, but he may have said you bought a stolen police car." I said, "What are you talking about?" "Well, the sheriff called me and he said, 'Mayor, you know that white car that you bought from Blackard?' And I said, 'Yeah, I got the title, I've got the paperwork and everything on it.' He said, 'Well, we have found out that car was stolen.' "What do you mean that car was stolen?" And I mean, he kind of laughed about it. He said, "Are you in the habit of doing that?" And I said, "Hey, Justin said it was a good buy, so I bought it." Now, here's what happened. What is the name of that town?
Camden.
Okay, Camden Volunteer, Sandy River Volunteer Fire Department had a volunteer fireman. This volunteer fireman called the Collierville Police Department. Collierville Police Department, Captain Williams talked to him and he said, "Do you have any police cars that y'all would donate to another police department or a fire department?" Captain Williams said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, we've got a couple of cruisers that we're taking out of service, and yeah, we'll donate one to your volunteer fire department." So listen up, Mike Vaughn. So what ends up happening, this young man and his daddy go to the Collierville Police Department, present themselves. Captain Williams, he signs that title over and hands it to him. Well, this young man, he carries the car back to Camden to the volunteer fire department, and he starts driving it like it's his own personal vehicle. Well, the chief didn't even know about it, as a matter of fact. So then he decides, well, I'm going to sell this car. So he puts it on Craigslist. Well, he doesn't get a hit on Craigslist, so he started having trouble out of the car. He brings it down to Bolivar to Blackard's, and he trades the car in on a truck. Now that young man is in jail. He is being prosecuted, and here's where we are right now. Legal counsel has advised us the procedure to follow. At the present time, we do have a letter from the Collierville Police Department relinquishing any ownership in that car. They don't want it back, okay? So I talked to the Attorney General up in Camden. What district is that? It's not 25th. But anyway, let's say 24th. I talked to him. Well, I talked to the mayor up there first, the city mayor, who referred me to the county mayor. The county mayor was aware of it because they had the volunteer fireman arrested, and they were prosecuting him. And when I talked to the Attorney General told me, he said, "Mayor, as soon as we get through prosecuting this individual, I will compile a letter with all the appropriate signatures to send to Grand Junction. We do not want that car back. We want y'all to have the car. But our legal counsel said that vehicle is not going to be moved because it's at B&E having some work done on the lights and stuff. They're keeping it for us. And once we get that paperwork back, then we will pick the car up, and we do have a backup unit for the unit that we got." So that's the story on that car. Did I purchase a car in question? At the time, I didn't know it was in question and did not know about it until 2 weeks later. Answer your question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, all of this leads up to the fact that Justin's credibility has been questioned because he failed to agree with an affidavit that said that he identified some equipment that belonged to the city of Grand Junction that he didn't know anything about, which was the dog kennel. And that was 5 years ago. Justin has not been with us that long. And the thing of it is, he was just like me, he was unaware that any of this stuff belonged to the city. Plus, the fact that I did inform the mayor that there was property out there and told him that someone needed to go pick it up, and that was never done. So I cannot see ruining this man's career over something that he really had no control over, that all of this just kind of snowballed and he got caught up in it. And with that being said, I'm gonna stop there.
One more comment. headline, Richard. There is more to this. I'm not gonna comment. The vice mayor was there as a witness. Chief Ryan was sitting in my office, and Lieutenant Powers was also sitting there. Now, I'm not gonna comment any further, because it will come out at a later time. But I am gonna say this. I have had training in substance abuse. I have done counseling in substance abuse. I've also been through training on people that have gambling addictions. Now, for somebody to say you should have, let me just say this much. Chief Ryan's a friend of mine. He was a friend of mine before he came to work here. I can rest easy knowing I did make some offers to Chief Ryan. And Chief denied having a need for help. I'll just say that. And I'm not going to say anything else. But anyway, I know that the offer was made. And you are absolutely right. We do have a program here. If we have an employee, but the whole thing in a nutshell, unless an employee wants the help, you cannot make them go. Just that simple.
Well, that's true.
Right. Now, so the offer was made, and the chief told me he did not have a problem, and I took the man at his word. I'm not saying anything else about it. I'm just not going to go into that. What else, Richard? Okay. Isaiah?
I have a question with this thing back and forth, back and forth. I read the charter. I think Justin is a great cop, but under the circumstances, after I contacted people, that, been keeping up with this thing, that's more advanced in, dealing with this type of thing, one asked a question that really stuck in my mind. If you keep your officer on duty as a police officer in Grand Junction, do you think that his rights will be restored back where he could properly do a job in Hardin County or in the city of Grand Junction? And if the board decide to keep Justin tonight, and his rights as far as, what he would be able to do in Grand Junction is just still be limited within a certain area, I still believe that he won't be effective to do his job, which, like I stated before, he's a great cop. He has done a lot of good in Grand Junction, but it still don't cover up the fact that, if he's not effective enough to do the job, we still, it seems like to me we're just limited to a traffic cop, and people don't want that. I have talked to people right here in the Grand Junction about it, and basically all of them telling me the same thing. We don't need a traffic cop. The situation, the subject's been brought up back and forth about, well, hey, here we are, we have someone, that we feel that have done more in Grand Junction than anyone else, as far as fighting the drug dealers and fighting this and fighting that. But if he's limited, then where did that leave the city? Do we continue to pay an officer that can't take any, that can't make an arrest, can't do this, can't do that, And so the question was asked to me, when you signed on to be a board member, was you signing on to fight county issues or city issues? I said, well, I signed on to be, as be honest as I could to, take care of city matters.